Okay guys, first of all, Spadia is not just a YouTube channel. We have also digital products, physical products, which are going to help you about everything we talk about in these videos. You can find two links in the descriptions below. And now let's get back to the video you came here to actually watch.
What's up guys, welcome to another video. Today we have another banger topic and it's about making the right sacrifices. It's going to be a completely different spin on stuff like this in the next few videos which we'll have for you guys, because the general concern about making the right sacrifices, I think, throughout the internet is that you should just basically ditch, for example, things which do not advance your life. And the second thing is that you should focus, for example, on work, on fitness, on relationships and such. But I think there's one huge component missing, which I do believe it's one of the first 2 or 3 steps which you would need to do to actually make sure you can sustain that. Because I think it's not that hard to get into it, but to sustain something, for example, as a gym, that is some of the most common things that people struggle with, is to actually keep up with the gym. So for example, I mean, probably the most common thing that we experience is New Year's resolutions, where the gyms are packed every year. That has been at least the case in the history of what I've seen myself and what are the reports of other people. Majorly from what I know in Western countries is that the gym attendance or the number of people who go to the gym tends to go down quite a bit as months go by in the year. So there actually isn't an issue with people actually going to the gym, but there is an issue with actually sustaining that. And I think in terms of making the right sacrifices, people do try to do something like that, but I think there's an issue that they don't have a plan for actually knowing what they are trying to focus on. And I'm not talking about a plan for, let's say, next 50 years of your life, but rather the plans that I do believe work are something of a cycle based, or let's say seasonality based. And what I truly mean by that is that the plans you would actually create are basically helping you to focus in specific time frames. For example, you will have a plan for the next 2 years, but within that, you would be thinking of focusing on something for 2 to 12 months. Whatever kind of period between that is up to you, but I would basically make it consistent. So for example, if you would like to focus majorly on fitness at the start of the year, for example, well, now it's 2023, but if, for example, into the start of the next year, if someone wants to make a plan, you would basically make a decision to focus most of your cognitive ability on fitness for the first 3 months of the year, for example, and then you will just try to make sure that for the next 3 months after that, you would instead focus most of your cognitive ability on, for example, your job position or your business, but you would still keep the fitness kind of in the background. So you wouldn't just be thinking that you need to focus on fitness for the entire year, because that's when I think people, I wouldn't call it burnout, but I think it's not the best case that you think about the fact that you have to do this fitness thing for an entire year and just focus your entire life on it, because many times you do not see such as a huge progression as you would have liked. So I think just focusing in terms of seasonalities on stuff like that. And in between that, you could watch some videos on how to improve your lifts, for example, and then for the next 3 months, you could come back to fitness and you could try again to the best of your ability to actually try to basically make your lifts goddamn more powerful. And it's kind of like alternating plan within a plan. I think what works the best when you actually have such a plan that helps you to actually stick to it, because you don't just focus on one particular thing for the entirety of it. Let's be quite fair, it does get boring for people when you do that, and I think that's also one of the major reasons why people do not continue with, for example, with fitness for that long. One, it does get boring when you just focus on the same thing. It's not sustainable in my opinion as well, and the progression, it's basically a form of burnout as well, in that you have in your mind that you're gonna go to the gym, for example, you're gonna lose some weight. It may not work as much, but I think this alternative cycle allows you to still keep yourself in the game, which is what matters the most, but it also allows you to see progression in other areas of your life. So you just do not think about making the sacrifice in one area of your life for the entire year, but you try basically alternate that. Now the beautiful thing about having a plan and in that turn, which works and also allows it to help to make the right sacrifices, is that you basically become immune to instant gratification especially. But nowadays we are basically, I believe, bombarded with all of the advertisements about things we truly do not even need, or are, let's say, quick fixes to issues we might have, and a lot of times they do not help, but they are just kind of like a band-aids to our issues. I mean, I would say one example is whenever I logged onto some social media, which I do not do that often or almost not at all, there's always usually advertisements which makes sense to target about dating apps, for example. There's basically, I think, a quick fix, in my opinion, to something that you could get actually in real life. They may help, but usually even the algorithms in the apps such as like that are basically geared against you, which basically it's best to not even use such apps because they do not help your life at all. And it would be just better to actually get real conversations, in my opinion, instead of using such apps. They may help, but I think for majority of the people it would be best to avoid them. But then you have many such things such as pharmaceuticals. So for example, some, let's say, drugs or something that helps you, for example, medicine, which many times it will be better if you actually got your sleep right. If you are feeling down, it would be better if you just took outside. There may be cases where basically pharmaceuticals might help you, but a lot of times they are basically just quick fixes to the real issue you might have. And I do believe that if you, for example, have a plan, so for example, that also allows you to maybe focus on your sleep, allows you to get a better lifestyle as well within your plan. You may be just basically immune to any advertisements which you might see about basically having issues even with your weight, because that could be related, but also, for example, having headaches, because we pretty much know that if you actually do have a healthy lifestyle, which we talked about many times before, what that actually means, it resembles, let's say, a good way to be. Then I think in terms of actually seeing advertisements which tell you to take a drug to basically make your headache go away, I think in that cases you don't even need to buy such a drug, and it's usually even a quick fix. But there are probably like 50 examples I could say just marketing is going not work on you, because it's quite cheap for the first thing, but the second thing is that you will have already taken care of, or you will be already working on stuff which they are trying to advertise to fix it for you, especially when you have basically some system in your life, and when you can easily improve also your performance thanks to the stuff you just basically done, what you worked on. I think that is absolutely huge for you to be able to then actually determine if something comes up. For example, a gym membership card. If you want to focus on fitness, it makes sense to get that, but it actually helps you. It's not a quick fix, but it helps to actually exercise well and will improve your posture and your body as well. So that also allows you especially to save your money. It allows you to basically perform better because you will make better life choices. I mean, none of us make plans that make our lives worse. We always want to plan that we do get better. So I think just with the nature of having that, and the second is also having it basically cyclically, where you're able to focus on one thing, then in 2 or 3 months you change the focus, but for example you still go sometimes to the gym. You may just not be absolutely looking at how to improve your lift performance each day, for example, and then you may switch it back to basically keep the novelty factor in, which would also help you to be more interested in what you are doing and to be able to make the right sacrifices with your plan that you would actually create, which I think will be quite huge for you guys if you try that, because there are numerous benefits. I mean, basically saves you money, makes you perform much better, and you feel much better, guys, because with those things in place and with the plan in place, it helps you to make much better choices in your life. You will even see in yourself, I mean, if you have gone to the gym regularly, you might also notice that you are less prone to fast food, for example, just because of you knowing that fast food is probably not the best thing for you, even though you may not know 100% about it. Some kind of pizza, for example, also is that you tend to make better choices in terms of food, in terms of nutrition, especially after you go to the gym, for example, after you have a system in your life and it just basically feeds on itself, and it allows you to basically make the right sacrifices for your life to get whatever you want. And I will say one thing is that the plan itself can be completely shit if you're making it the first time. It doesn't matter in my opinion, because having at least a plan allows you to change it as you go, as you actually realize what you truly want. Well, you realize what is easy for you to get. So for example, you may realize that actually you had a pretty good skill set already, so you can increase your income quite easily, and you didn't know that, but you may be struggling in other areas such as fitness or relationships as well, or it may be completely different for you. So the focus of the plan will, I do believe, will depend on what you truly want and what you can already get. But I think the beauty of it is that everyone's plan is basically different in terms of what they want and what they may struggle with. And another thing which I will still mention is that it's huge to look at your plan each day. And even, for example, a setup which does work very well is that if you turn up your laptop, if the first thing that opens up is your plan, I think you'll be in a great way to make sure to accomplish that plan, or at least to make sure it's at the top of your mind. Because if the first thing that basically pops up to your eyes in the morning when you actually get going out of your bed is your plan, well, I think that's a huge, well, let's say one, it's a huge motivation. But the second thing is that it really keeps you up to think about it and to make sure it actually gets done or adjusted based on what you truly want in the next few months, for example. So hopefully this video was even helpful for you guys. We'll have even more bangers for you because this is more of a educational, but we'll have many other different videos, I would say. But thank you guys so much. If you have also some comments, just leave them below. We answer them all. Thank you.